as a person. All righty.
All right.
Hey, we are live. All right, take it away.
We are. Oh, we're on my page today. Are we on my page today? I think we are. We're on Simple Reflect.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Hi, guys. It's Kath from Simple Reflect, of course. And we are back with another session of our Hashtag Educators Can, and I have Nikki Leonti with me, and we love talking all things family daycare. Hi, Nikki, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
We haven't got many questions for tonight. We were just looking at what we've actually been sent through. So if you have questions for us, we would love to answer them, because we really want to answer questions that you want answered, that are something that you are either debating or struggling with. How can we help you with your family daycare? But we have got one really great question that Nikki received.
We have.
Would you like to tell us about that?
Okay, so I got this question. It must have been on the weekend. So someone, and I do actually get this question quite a lot over the years. So the question is, do I have to be registered with a scheme in order to run a family daycare? So this is a really good question, especially when scheme costs have gone up, when people are having some issues with schemes, or they're kind of thinking, oh, I don't know, kind of not 100% certain I want to do this. Let's just give it a go. So quite often this question will come up in those kind of instances, people thinking how, what else could I do? Can I do it a little bit differently? So this question is a really good question. And our answer tonight is, I'm based in Queensland, Cass based in New South Wales, and nearly every state has a different rule when it comes to running a family daycare without being part of a registered scheme. So we are just going from our experience and also from what we know of Victoria as well. So my experience a few years ago, so I took some time off when I was taking maternity leave, and then when I reopened, I only wanted to do shorter days. Now, a lot of schemes don't offer that. They won't register you unless you're doing a certain number of days and hours per week. Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't want to do that much. And so I phoned my local council and asked them, I don't know, I can't even remember where I got this advice from, but someone had said to me, call your local council to find out what the, regulations are. In fact, I think it could have been one of the schemes. Anyway, so I called the local council and said, look, I'm wanting to do this. Is this legal? Like, I don't want to do anything that's not legal. What are the the issues with this? Is it even possible? And the person I spoke to said, yes, it's possible. If you're doing under a certain number of hours per day and a certain number of days per week, then you are fine to go ahead. Now, this is my local council. So we're not talking state. I was talking about my local council. They said there's no regulations against doing that, such as gyms and creches and stuff like that. And occasional care, I think. I don't know. Some others kind of fell under that category. My thing was that usually parents had to be on site for those situations, but he said, no, this is fine. You don't have to be registered. He said the only issue is you cannot get insurance. And as soon as he said that to me, I was like, this is a no deal. I can't. Yeah. I'm not looking after other people's children and I don't have insurance. That's crazy. So I went back to my scheme, and so this is a scheme I'd been with previously, and put it to them and said, look, I will be so helpful. I will be most favorite educator. Please register me. Now, the reason why schemes won't register you for less, for shorter days or shorter weeks, is because it's a lot of work for them. And if they're only getting, if you're only doing, say, 10 to 15 hours a week, it's not worth their while because it's so much paperwork.
Yeah.
They still have to do all of the same processes, all of the same checks as if someone was doing it 5 or 7 days a week, you know, and they would be getting a heck of a lot more money. So I really put my case forward and they accepted. So I was very lucky. That's not always the case. But to be honest, for me, if you are starting out in family daycare, that worked really well for me because of the families that I was looking for. They were kind of looking just for half days anyway. So that's not always going to be a great situation for educators. But so my advice to this person who sent the question in is, first of all, ring your local council and find out what the issues are. If you cannot get insurance, so if it's okay with the council but you can't get insurance, I really want you to think long and hard about that. That would be my advice.
Absolutely.
And also, there are more than one insurance for family daycare educators. So we've got Family Daycare Australia, which offer insurance for educators. But then there's also another good one, which is Megalines. Yeah. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
Are you with them?
No, I'm with Family Daycare Australia and have stayed with them. I just think it's a personal choice. And educators just need to, really read what both of them are offering and work out what works for them.
I think there's a couple of, from my research, so I did this was a while ago, but I did do a bit of a blog post about different insurance. Is Family Daycare Australia offer you a membership as well? And as part of that membership, you do get correspondence from them fairly regularly, and some, they have competition, not a competition, but like an awards thing. I do know they have a conference as well, a few other things that some educators.
Quarterly magazine, those sorts of things.
So they do look at supporting educators a little bit. From my experience, I didn't feel like I got a lot out of that. The conference is in Sydney. Well, usually it's in Sydney, which is not possible for me to get to. But Megalines was slightly cheaper, but you don't get those extra things. Yeah, that was the research. So that kind of gives you an idea of which way you might want to go. And there could be other companies out there now. Do you know any other companies out there now?
No, as far as I'm aware, they're the only two that I'm aware of. But again, that's just because I'm with Family Daycare Australia and I've only heard of the other one. Like it's, and I did read through their blurb when it first came out, but I haven't done, like, that was probably at least 18 months ago now. So, that my thinking probably isn't 100% up to date. It's really a great thing to go and read through that. If you're debating on changing, make sure you read all the information and whatnot so that you're making an informed decision. And
so, I was just going to ask you, what would be your perspective on why educators should have insurance? What do you feel?
Oh, goodness, because children can do anything. And look, I've been really, really lucky. I've never had any major accidents at all with the children. But, children are children, and accidents are called accidents because that's what they are. And, the risk of getting sued by a parent is real. Like, if a parent has a child that's injured in some way that needs medical attention, will need ongoing care, they won't have, it doesn't matter how nice they are, they will not have a choice but to sue you to help with those medical expenses, to help with those ongoing expenses. That's just a reality. That's not being mean. That's not saying anyone isn't trustworthy or anything like that. That's just understanding how the world works. And to put your family at risk of being not covered, I don't know. And yes, it's a personal thing, but belonging to a scheme, there's a lot more than just insurance as well. It's understanding all the regs. It's understanding risk assessments and training and moving forward and actually belonging to, a community that understands how precious our children are and really holds high the love of education and the need of education and those sorts of things. So to just, I don't know, to decide to not go with a scheme is a really big deal.
And I also think that was another thing. As soon as he talked about, you know, I couldn't get insurance, that was like a big red flag. I'm like, let's just stop anything here. But the other thing as well is I did not want to have to go and look at all of the regulations of things that have changed and stayed up to date and whatever, because you still have to maintain everything of a high standard. Like you can't just open your front door and put out a sign and welcome children in and think that parents are going to be happy with that. So you need to really, I just want people to really think about it. And my advice would be to register with a scheme. That is my advice.
Absolutely. That would be mine as well.
Yeah. So there are many benefits. Even if some of your families don't qualify for childcare benefits and things like that, it still is beneficial for you to have someone on your side, to have someone you could call if things are going wrong, to have someone who's like your scheme mostly doing a lot of work behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that we do forget that. We think, oh, they're just charging all this money and I'm not really seeing anything here, but they are doing a lot of work. They're doing trainings to help support you and help understand everything that's happening. You know, they're trying to, they can negotiate with families. You've got someone on your side in that instance. So there's lots of different things that they can offer that you may not think about. And this I think this is a really good question for people who are just thinking about starting, because it could be an option that you think about and think, if you've never been with a scheme before, or if you've never really understood it, you might be thinking, this sounds like a great idea. You know, let's just do this and I'm going to save myself a bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was and that was a little while ago as well, and things are changing all the time. Can you hear my kids? Can you hear them?
No.
Oh, phew, I thought they were getting a bit loud.
I can't. Others may be, but I can't.
Awesome. I'm just you keep talking, so I'm just going to check any comments. Or can you see the comments?
Wait on, I'm just flicking. It's coming up.
Let's just see.
So it tells me we have 2 comments.
Is it?
And hi, Kathleen, and hi, Marilyn. How are you?
Excellent. Our loyal people coming to listen. Do you ladies have any questions for us tonight? It's a bit of a funny night, isn't
it? It is a bit funny. It is. It's
you've never really understood it. You might be thinking, there we go. Can you there we go.
I think it feels a bit funny.
Okay.
We're sort of halfway through 4th term, and it's I feel like I should be doing heaps of things, but I've sort of already sorted things, like Christmas parties are all booked and planned, and newsletters are done, and children's placements for next year are all finalised. Some of my lilies have started their preschool orientations and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a really funny week. So it's sort of it's eased off a bit. Like the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot to do, I feel, and then this week there's not. It's like, oh, okay, have I done everything I need to do?
To organise some settling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool. Well, I also wanted to give away my book, which I think I showed a little while ago. But it was my birthday on Sunday, and so I wanted to give away a little gift. So if you are keen, if you would like to kind of enter, we're not doing anything formal really, but just put your hand up in the comments below. So we'll keep this open let's say till tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
Seems pretty good. So put your hand up in the comments. So when I say that, you can just say hi or whatever, whatever you want to do in the comments. So this is the book. Oh, it's so big it can't fit in the screen. It's called First Day.
Oh, it's cool.
It's a big book. And I went to the post office. I'm like, how much would this cost me to post in Australia? And so I'm going to post it out, and it's a really good book, especially if you've got kids going off to school next year. So it's a big book. Do you have a lot of big books?
I do have some big books. I have mainly farm animal, actually, big books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fun. Like, I feel like because it's big, it really gets kids' attention, and they really want to pay attention and listen to it, you know.
We sort of go on runs on them because I've got a couple of them. So we get a couple out and we'll read them for a week or two, and then they'll be popped away and they won't get out again, and then I'll remember them and I'll bring them out, and they'll stay for another couple of weeks. They're sort of one of those ones that, because I think they're so big, they're hard to have out all the time.
Yes. Yeah, they are. And your arm gets sore, like if you're doing it more, like if you're doing more than one or two of them, like holding it out. But I always found like having something like a little chair or something you can sit it on, and the kids can come up and turn the page. Like, that's a really cool way to kind of get them involved, because we really want to get them involved with the reading. You know, you're not just wanting to read to them, you're wanting to read with them, you know, and get them excited about it. And actually, speaking of which, something I saw in Aldi the other day was felt boards.
Oh, I love felt boards.
I know. They're one of my favorite things. And especially if you can get a felt board that matches a book. It doesn't have to, or even if it's just got similar characters, or you can make more felt. And so what you do is you read the story, and then after you finish reading the story, you might need to read it a couple of times before you do this if it's something new for children. Then you want to have a discussion about it, because you want to encourage their recall and understanding of the story. Even if they're tiny, they really can do this, okay?
Yeah.
So you want to ask them questions. You want to have a discussion about what happened at the very beginning of the story. What was the first thing that happened? So you want to try and get them to think about, you know, the farmer was at the start of the story, and then what did he do next? And then what animals were in there? And even at the very beginning stages, you can just ask what characters were in the book, who was in the book, what animals or people, and then start to get them to understand the sequence of events that happen. And this is something you would do with maybe 3-year-olds plus, like for the sequencing, but all of the children would generally be able to give you at least one answer of what characters were in the book. So these are fun ways to get children to actually pay attention and understand the story, because quite often they'll just sit and they'll just we want to increase that level of comprehension or understanding. So there's lots of really fun things that you can do with books. I guess I really would encourage educators, if you are able to go and visit, if you're only new, but go and visit an experienced educator to see how they do things like that. Yeah. Did you ever get that opportunity when you were starting out?
Yeah, absolutely. Our scheme runs a buddy system. So yes,
of course. That's an idea.
Yeah, so I have the opportunity to visit a lot of educators, or several educators, but it's something that I love to do as well. It's just connect with different educators, because we're going to go to playgroup with 3 or 4 educators. I seem to see the same educators over and over. So I really like to go and visit other educators and invite educators to come here as well.
Yeah.
It's connecting, it's building that
Yeah.
community, it's fun, and yeah, doing experiences while you're with other educators is just fabulous. And I love to see how my group of children with another group of children's, how they interact, because sometimes they stay in their little groups and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes a couple of visits to actually have them really mix and come out socially. But then when you offer them things like books and whatnot, the children will say different things that you didn't expect because they're in that different group as well.
Yes.
It encourages those different skills that you might not have actually got if you just did it with the 4 that you have. In saying that, moving outside as well onto a picnic blanket outside with your books, the children will say and do different things than they would if you have it where you have your normal group time. So little things that you can do with books just to change that interaction. I just love it. It's it keeps it interesting. It keeps me motivated to go, I wonder what they do there. Well, if I take it out there, what will they do it out there? Like it helps keep me motivated, I suppose.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I also find, even with my own kids, is if someone else has read them the story, that other person will read it slightly differently. Maybe they put in accents, maybe they emphasize different parts of the story differently than you are. So, it's a lot of fun. So if you're a coordinator of a scheme, I highly recommend that you incorporate like a read aloud type session for your educators to get some ideas of how else they can do reading.
Absolutely.
Because if you didn't know, you don't know what you don't know. So if you didn't know what type of comprehension activities you could be doing or how else you could read a book, then you just wouldn't ever be able to incorporate that. So if you are a coordinator, try and organize that at a play group, or even do a video that you can share with your scheme with your educators if they are further away. I'd really love to see more of that type of thing happening. We do have a lot of newly qualified educators, and they're just starting out, and I would love to see more of that happening, rather than just, we've got another book, or it gets so boring they stop it. And kids, I hear that kids, they just will never sit down for a book. I'm like, but you got to make it interesting. You got to make it really fun and exciting. And I always if you've experienced that your children are not that engaged with reading, don't force them, sit down and read the book, even if it just ends up to be reading it by yourself. Let them wander away. Don't make it like a forced thing, but get excited, get puppets, get resources so that you can make it exciting for them to come back. But don't ever force children to have to sit down and read a story, because it makes a story time a very negative experience.
Yeah.
And that is the last thing that we want. And some kids don't want to, they just don't want to sit down there yet. And that's okay. They might be wandering and playing and still kind of, listening in.
Yes. Yeah, I love to lie on my tummy on the floor in front of the fire in the middle of winter with all the cushions around me and just lead by example. It's like, I'd really love to read a book. Who wants to read this with me? And lay down and read it and see who comes. You might have one, or you might have all 4, you might have none. And it's like, okay, well, they're not interested at the moment. The one tip that I do love to give new educators when they're talking about how to introduce literacy skills and whatnot into their setting, it's like, okay, should I be programming this? Should I be doing this? When you offer a book, don't have your main aim to get to the end.
Yeah.
Main aim is to see how many questions you can ask and how many interactions the children want on a particular page. If you don't make it to the end of the book before you go off on another tangent, or before you, decide not to keep going, the aim is not to get to the end.
Yes.
Yeah, the aim is to have those interactions. And if it means that you only get to the first page before you start these beautiful conversations, then that's fabulous. That's a win.
Yeah.
That you do not have to get to the end of a book, and don't make your story time that, how fast can we get to the end of the book.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And I think I always recommend as well, if it's a new book, skim through it a little bit beforehand.
Yes.
Because sometimes you will think something is fairly okay by looking at the cover.
Yep.
But I do remember one book, and I did not read it beforehand. And so I'm sitting there in front of all these children, and it started talking about this guy was shooting a bird, and then this bird was dead and all this stuff. I'm thinking, oh, man, this is not what I thought. This is not where I thought this was going. And I was just so, and none of these children could read yet. So I started making stuff up, and it got a bit awkward. It was funny, like I was having a bit of fun because I thought it was funny. But, read it first. Just skim it a little bit. Yeah. I do actually remember I saw this post on Facebook about the grandma who bought a storybook for her child, and it looked like a kid's book, and it was about animals, like if animals could talk or something like that. And then so she bought it and gave it to her son, who then read it to her, his child, her grandchild. And it turned out to be all this swearing about what animals would say if they could talk, but like quite, it was adult through the whole thing. And it was just like, man, obviously we wouldn't get that kind of situation. And the kids in our care, most of them can't actually read the words. So it'd be, but yeah, I thought that was funny. That was a really funny story. Anyway. Yes. So that was a good one.
I love that.
All right. So we have got a few people putting their hands up tonight too for our storybook.
Awesome, guys. Awesome.
Who else? We've got Kathleen, Marilyn. Oh, was Christina here? Where has Christina gone?
There's 3. Okay. It doesn't show. Kathleen says, happy birthday.
Thank you. I had a great time.
And Marilyn's got her hand up as well. She hopes you had an amazing weekend.
I really did. Got to eat lots of good Greek food.
Ooh.
I mean, the pool most of the weekend, which was really nice. So has it heated up there yet?
Hey, can I just show you? Look.
And look at me. It's a storm here today, so it was a bit cold.
I think this is the first time I've had short sleeves on in my
yeah, it is. Yay. Things looking up.
Yeah. Bit of sun. It was and it's nice to play and whatnot now, and our conversations are around shade and where's the shade and where would we like to set up our things that we're setting up outside and those sorts of things. So our language has changed as well, and I noticed that today. I was like, oh, summer's here, yes.
Excellent. Oh, cool. Wow, that's really good. I think that's all our questions. Let me just quickly check. I did have a post over on Start Your Own Family Daycare. I did a little video this afternoon, so I'll just see if there's any more questions there.
Oh, nice. A live stream on the page.
I did. I had a little crown on, and then I did another one, had flowers on. It was a bit fun, actually.
Oh, nice.
No, there weren't any questions, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess we just ask for questions for next week.
Yeah.
We'll be on Start Your Own Family Daycare next week.
Well, if you have any questions for us, leave them. We will come back to them. Pop your hand up for Nikki's beautiful book, and we look forward to hearing from you next week. Thanks for
and you're not here next week, are you?
No,
Are you here
I'm
next
not.
week?
No, actually, I've
No.
clearly forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had that in my diary. So we'll have something a little bit special next week. Then I don't know what it is, but it will
Making it up
definitely
as we
be
go
fun.
along.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It will be fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I might have another guest. I do have someone in mind.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that over on Start Your Own Family Daycare next week, same time.
Yeah.
And we will see you all later.
Bye, guys.